All right, tonight I'm very pleased being backed up by Mr. Tommy Halloran. We're going to try something new. I'm reading Ruth Weiss tonight. I'm going to give you a short introduction because she's not very well known. Ruth Weiss is one of the few beat poets who wasn't born in America. Her family actually escaped Nazi Germany, like in 1938. She came to the U.S., and by the time she was 19, she was hitchhiking around. This is in the late 40s. And by 1950, she was in San Francisco. She was one of the pioneers of jazz readings. Jack Hirschman said of her, "Others read to jazz or write from jazz. Ruth Weiss writes jazz in words." I'm going to try to do my best to do that tonight. So I'm going to start with a short poem called For Madeline Gleason, and then I'm going to go into excerpts from Postcard 1995, Single Out, and I Always Thought You Black. And I cheated a bit. Ruth Weiss is not dead. She's 75 years old, and about 5 years ago, she won the San Francisco Slam. Yeah. Tommy needs the tune, so I'll do a little dance. I don't know any jokes. I know a joke about a penguin, but it's not funny.
I got the levels. It's my fault.
You know, I told you the wrong thing, man. That thing's not going to work. Don't worry, I'm going to go through this amp, and that's going to work out just fine.
Are you ready? Yeah? Okay. Ruth Weiss. Do your poems haunt you? Oh, Maddie, is not the poem of our life a haunt? Drawing us, releasing and drawing us, a stronger line each time, drawing us, the artist, drawn and quartered into seasons, into elements. In a room of reflections, like what put us here, like changes in reflex, like changes in pace. This night, in a room of reflections, the patterns of self on the wall, in the shore of the sea, sparks from the red tide, a movement of self. There's fireworks on the water. The eye is a reflection of stars. What put us here? The self, of course. The course is not always clear. The water is not always clear. And the sky is not always clear. It is still. It's a time for reflection. October 1938. We had to flee Vienna. My grandmother's Hungarian boarding house was wanted by a Nazi official. Hungary was still at a Nazi clutch, and my grandmother, Hungarian. We were Austrian citizens. My father, his mother's only son. We left quickly in the night for the Swiss border. The border had closed one night before our arrival. Rain. Dizzy Alp trails. We climbed to slide muddy back to the border village. Another try. Now a desperate 20, mostly young men with hired guide across the flooded Rhine. The woman slips in the mud. Shots sing above our heads. Not really meant to hit us, the Swiss sharpshooters. The warning real enough. Go back, we can't take anymore. We couldn't either. The three of us, penniless in the Innsbruck train station. Obvious, un-Aryan. What now? Any moment the question, the only answer, a young woman brushed by, a whisper, the follow me. What could we lose? Wet nights, narrow streets. We kept a block behind until she vanished into a doorway, a slit of light. We entered. Are you hungry? She said. I'll show you your bed. All night the Venetian blinds caught light. Once there was a knock. The sun rayed through the blinds when she called us for breakfast. A young man with unslept eyes was sipping coffee. Where are you headed? Vienna. The man nodded, kissed the woman, and left. Her hands put money and tickets into ours. She directed us to the station, first checking the streets. But at the station, an official gleaming a huge swastika neared us. What now? Then we saw his face. It was a young man who hadn't slept. There had been only one bed in the flat. In Vienna, our visa from New York awaited us. There was still time to leave. December 31st, 1938, midnight. The last possible moment. We boarded a train for Holland. But in Switzerland, we would have spent the war in an internment camp. The party was in full swing. It was Chicago, 1950. I had just come back from New Orleans and making circles. Old faces, new faces, life talk and death talk. Any talk to keep the thread and nervous. Are you here? Is he? Is she? She is. He is. He is who? You have an accent, yes, Viennese. A young face. Coal. Old as coal. And smooth. I'm an expert. Besides, I have a friend from Vienna. Then the circle stopped. We were hanging over the back of an overstuffed couch. 4 feet dangling over the heads who filled it. My feet stopped dangling. Is it a she? Is she black but light? Is she tall? Very. But does she dance? Yes, he said, and she comes from Vienna. Oh, how we talked that night in her tiny attic room. That night, up stair after stair. I'm sure it's her. It's she, he said. She made coffee, scrambled eggs. It was a circus, the war. I'm an acrobat when I have to be. The war, and after, a GI from Detroit, no more. But always the dance. And now, always the dance. Ernest Alexander Long and Brown listens to my poem. It's in my blue black bulb room. He pulls me upstairs, says, now read to these folks, they gotta hear this. It's my first own home, my first turntable, my first modeling nude, my first poetry aloud. Someone blows a horn, someone brushes a drum. I'm reading to jazz, man. I'm 22. I don't think I'll make it to 30. I don't think. I write. Words are my friends. Words are wings. They protect. I have a room of my own. I shall always have a room of my own. That I will. This cancer girl gotta have a room of her own. And then one by one, the ones who must play enter the search for that note, that only one. It is a jam for the heartbeat. No feet tapping, no hands clapping. And I walk slow through daybreak blue, back to North Beach. My lids fold around my whole being.